Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Every journey begins with a simple act of care. For Quest to Unite Africa, that journey started with something simple: a mother, a newborn, and a promise that no life would be forgotten. We did not begin with buildings, we began with people. We packed mother newborn kits with our own hands because real change starts where the need is greatest. Those kids traveled farther than we imagined, and they opened our eyes to a deeper truth. Aid saves lives, but infrastructure saves generations. So we grew. Together with donors, volunteers, and partners, we sent a medical container to Burkina Faso. Not just supplies, but hope. Not just boxes, but proof that when a community comes together, healing moves across borders. That moment changed us because we realized something powerful. We weren't just delivering help, we were building a future. Now, the journey continues. The next chapter is bigger than a shipment, bigger than a campaign. We are raising funds to build a state-of-the-art hospital, a place where mothers can give birth safely, where families can find care close to home, and where communities can grow stronger for generations to come. This hospital is not just a structure, it's a promise. A promise that healthcare will no longer be temporary. A promise that dignity will have a permanent home. And just like every step before, we cannot do this alone. Every gift, every brick, every name placed on the founder path becomes part of a story that began with compassion and is growing into legacy. It helps us move from emergency aid to lasting healing, from containers to care that never leaves, from vision to reality. Join us, stand with us, help us build a hospital that will serve generations, moving healthcare into action. Visit q2ua.org today.
Well, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you this morning because I'm telling you, Gentiles, I don't think that you have that much time left, especially as, look, let me show you this. Especially as the Antichrist of this age. And then you see the man in there. The Luciferian light. Let's just call it what it is. The Luciferian light. You cannot make this thing up. And of course, you have the military, and you have literally this woman praying to him. Can we say that that is blasphemy? That's blasphemy. That's blasphemous. Can we say that honestly, when you see this and it doesn't cause an outwar or any other cause or pause or concern, can you say that this place is being driven into the grave? So they forgot Paula. Case status 7 says. But to be fair, he does have pale people actively praying to him. I've never been so religious in my life. That has been the downfall of every single, like, and you can tell these people don't read the Bible because it's not their word, so they can't really understand it. And when they've tried to move on the manipulation, they find themselves in the same judgment that the Bible speaks about, because the Most High's word cannot be manipulated. It doesn't. It's his word. Well, you can manipulate. You know how many times I've heard you can manipulate the Bible? I'm like, all right, yeah, you can. But then what happens to those folks? Then they get judged. See, if there's no fear of the Most High, you now have a nation that's getting ready to go into the grave. That's how that goes. You now have a vessel for destruction for the Most High's people, Judah, to be fair, in this great and final captivity, to see how a nation that had gone up into the heavens to be brought down low. I can't make this up. I'm here as baffled as you are, seeing everything coming to pass as you all are seeing it. And now here is really the next calamitous. I put the link earlier in the chat. Here it is. Yesterday I was on the phone with Brother Asaph, and we were talking because this article that I'm bringing on up, it was actually, there's a lot of things that I'll say just in the context. I don't like to say word salad, but I say things because I mind map. I am a mind mapper. I throw things on out there. I don't necessarily get the connections just yet, but I do throw out the ideas and where those ideas are possible, where they can go, and how they get delivered. Obviously, I tell you how these folks think because I used to work with them. That's something that I've stated over and over again. I had this conversation with my son yesterday as he was going to his soccer game. And he had stated, he said, "You know what, Dad, I remember," because he was younger at that time. "I remember you on active duty. I remember all the stuff because I used to have my family involved in a lot of the things that I was doing. At that time, I was proud of what I was doing. We hadn't yet turned into a neo-theocratic dictatorship. I guess that's the best word to say right now. And a lot of the events, I did want to have my children see what I did to help build and strengthen relationships for what I thought was, at that time, in the bowels of my sleep, was righteous. But then when I had awakened, because quite simply, what I did every day was I got my word. And that was something that was pressed upon me by my dad. Getting the word, getting the word, getting the word. And I genuinely wanted to know the Most High. It wasn't that I wanted to get on up here and preach and say, "Thus saith Yahuwah." No. I actually want to have a relationship with my father who was taking care of me because I said, "You know what? I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to be like all these other selfish Christians. I actually want to know who my father is." Because at that time, I could see something was happening in the shift of Eurocentric Christianity. And now, when you see the photo or the graphic of what you see, now you're starting to understand how that shift had taken place over 10 years ago. We may laugh and have parody and have fun, but the reality is that that is something that you have to understand. It's not just the Antichrist. Oh, it's the Antichrist. Oh, the Antichrist. Here comes Damien. You know, all this other. No. We've been given to the spirit of the Antichrist. This is an Antichrist system. This is an anti-Yasharel system. This is an anti-Elohim system of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is the counter to what the Most High said would happen, and we have been given to its captivity. I don't care how they want to spin and label New Babylon. It's still New Babylon, and you still have to read the word, and you still have to understand Jeremiah, Amos, Habakkuk, Isaiah, Ezekiel, and on and on and on in the Old Testament to be able to understand that this Babylon would have Judah in captivity until when? Until the end of this age. Until the two sticks come back together. So the indigenous, all that other stuff, the Olmecs, all that. Look, if you want to be caught down in those spiritual dregs, then I'm going to tell you this. You better be careful. And honestly, there's no more warnings. You either know or you want to be ignorant. That's just how it goes. You get no more warnings. How are those warnings with going to war with Iran? Kind of just sprung up on us. February 28th, kind of sprung up on us. If you hadn't known and understood, this system is collapsing in real time very quickly. They just won't tell you the collapse because they're going to collapse certain areas and certain pockets first. This system is now collapsing on a global mechanism. As I had spoken to Brother Asaph yesterday, I said, listen, the heart and the brain are your last vestiges of your organs. Everything else, when the blood supply messes up, your limbs, your extremities, they go first. What do you think is happening in this global system? The extremities are going first. And this isn't just a changeover power. Okay, tag you on in. This isn't a WWE. This is a violent exchange and will be a violent exchange as the nations are beginning to coalesce and have their formations within the Middle East. That area of the Middle East was always the jump off spot. What do you have there? Besides a whole bunch of sand. So, of course, it is a very viable area to conduct wars and conflicts, which has been the case since the whole Sykes-Picot agreement anyway. But it does boast of something that the nations need, and that is oil. See, I remember back in 2009 through 2016, 17, where you had all the green energy and Greta Thunberg and all that other stuff that was going on. And I laughed because as people would try to have these green solutions, it's good. Don't get it wrong. It's good to have green solutions, but it's a supplemental energy source. It's not an energy source that is going to be a substitute. And when you realize that when people try to do this substitute, I realized that what they were trying to do was knock people on out of energy, because energy is really what how the world works. In a lot of the areas, even in the Middle East, during that time of my travels, really 2017 to 2020, a lot of the places in the Middle East, that was the most that they've had energy sustainability. You didn't have much in terms of brownouts, blackouts, none of that, unless there was an active conflict. On the continent, you still have a lot of energy issues, but I believe that those energy issues are more so policy derived than actual infrastructure derived. But let me take you back to, I believe it was last month, around the start of the Strait of Hormuz being closed. And one of the things that I was throwing on out there was this. Well, if they do a Strait of Hormuz closure and they're letting ships go on out, quite simply, the United States will then interdict those ships that are going out of the Strait of Hormuz. Because why? Because the U.S. needs the oil. And I had stated that here on this platform, on this channel. And I threw that on out there as not that it was, oh, it's going to definitely happen, but I threw that on out there as when you have to understand how you war game. And that's what it is. It's wargaming situations. What do you have in front of you? What's on the map? And how do you then utilize the pieces on the map? How then do you stop the avenues of approach? How then do you provide obstacles? How then do you utilize your pieces? Because why? Because we had stated this. We stated this. You're just not going to cut the U.S. out of not making money. Oh no, they're going to make their money, and then they'll gain control over the resources that you think you're going to then ship over to the rest of the world. That wasn't going to happen, and we said that that wasn't going to happen. And surprise, surprise, in about 3 hours and change, that interdiction is going to take place via the overall structure of a blockade. Why? Because they were doing that in Venezuela. Remember what I said? They were doing it in Venezuela because Venezuela was the real life renditions, the real life practices. Marilyn Lamar did, she states, yeah, you did mention that. And I did. You don't just have that scenario play on out in another area. What it is that in the global construct, you are training. These are missions, but they're actually trainings. And you're doing a training, real life exercise, which is what it is. Do you think that they're going to get a lot of flack, a lot of heat from any type of military force, especially in South America? No. So the operational risk level was like very minimal. That they could go ahead and do that. Okay, let's take out Maduro. Okay, let's do this blockade. Okay, let's do X, Y, and Z. And then what they were doing was every single mission that they were doing, they were collecting data points. Okay, well, if we do this, we do this, we do this. All right, now plug it on into the AI machine with these data points, and let's see what our coefficiencies are in terms of what our risk is looking like. Let's look at the percentage of, our operational structures. Let's take a look at how we would be able to formulate what different scenarios, avenues of approaches. How then do we go into the construct of, hey, now all of a sudden we have to do a blockade? Like that wasn't going to happen. Of course it was going to happen. The problem is the calculus of the blockade. And now those ships that are standing afar off, especially in the Arabian, now there's going to be a whole bunch of risk to it, because what they'll have to do is they'll have to skirt through India and Pakistani waters. Yes, they will. They're not going to be allowed to go into international waters, because that's when the U.S. will interdict them. Which also means that you now have Diego Garcia, which is in play. Which also means you now have a situation that people don't want to say, but it's coming. You would have to use ports in Africa, particularly over in either Somalia or Kenya. But to me, Somalia would be the most optimal one. Now, here's the reality. You now have South Africa, excuse me, that could literally say, remember the naval exercise they had last year with Iran, Russia, and China, and the U.S. was very, very mad about that? Why is that? Because they were holding a checkpoint. Why were they holding a checkpoint? Or excuse me, a choke point on over there? Because quite simply, it's this. The moment that they enact the blockade is the moment that it's a global declaration of war. That's correct, Sean. Blockade against the rest of the world is a declaration of war. It is. And it's not just a declaration of war on a region, it's a global declaration of war. This is the last vestige. This is it. How come the nations turned on the whore? They threw her down and they burned her with fire because she went crazy. And now you have France and Germany that are trying to be neutral. They can't be neutral. Y'all needed remember those 40 countries that had met earlier, 2 weeks ago, that were trying to get deals with Iran? Now all those countries that had deals with the U.S. say they're all legal. So basically, it's all they declared war. Now, will ships be interdicted? Absolutely. The problem is, where would you take those ships? Are they just going to board them and hold them? Because where would you then sail them? And if they get interdicted, then there's going to be a force that's going to then counter that interdiction. I.e., here it comes. Not Russia. But here comes another one. Here comes China. China be coming. Why did China give Iran all of these military-based assets? It wasn't just Iran that, it says Iran must have thought about this possibility ahead of time. No, not just Iran. This is China. Because China was understanding this. Look, the moment that their oil was going to be interdicted, now you have a situation where India is not going to be able to profit on the oil. They won't. So India is actually in a situation to where, just in my opinion, to where they're going to have to finally declare themselves. Uganda can help in Africa. They're landlocked. They ain't doing nothing. They're going to help that Eastern Mediterranean nation with what? You ain't doing anything. But the minute that a ship is interdicted, couple things that I see happening. Europe will have to declare the act of aggression on the European Union. I.e., the European Union will have to issue a statement. So they'll try to do it nice and diplomatically. Donald, stand down, Donald. We can do this diplomatically, Donald. And the reality is he doesn't care. And you have to understand, now they're going to force feed you everything that they want to in this Western media. What they won't tell you is this. Those blockades in Europe are going to be even worse. And if they don't declare against the United States, Europe is going to get overthrown by its own people. Watch, it's coming. And you also have a very strong possibility that even India may overthrow Modi. See, that's what happens in a politically volatile situation. Because again, who does that benefit? To hold up gas. Look, why is that? That is the petro-nuclear option. That's what he's doing. Because what did we say on this channel a couple of days ago? Trump doesn't care about Europe. What Trump is trying to do was destroy Europe. And I know that that's hard for people to truly imagine. Yes, you had a president in office that actually wants to destroy Europe. He wanted to destroy NATO. Why is that? because he wants to have a subservient global cast. We already have a subservient cast here in the United States, but he wants to push that globally. Why? To have regional authority, which he pretty much already has, because Mexico's doing nothing. The Central American nations are doing nothing. Venezuela has already rolled over for the most part. So did Colombia. So that is what's happening. The only ones right now that's in the act of overt defiance are the Cubans. So now, talk about an illegal blockade. This is the most illegal that it goes. Now, what they'll do is they'll come through to the United Nations again, and they'll go through their acts, their superlative acts. Oh well, it's this, it's blah blah blah. They've been doing that like the whole week, last week. Well, we're doing peace and democracy and freedom and peace and doesn't sound like freedom. It sounds more like authoritarianisms. I'm just saying. See, now what they did was they dog whistled those words, peace and safety and security, peace and safety and security. For who? For some, not all. Look, you can play the Star Spangled Banner. You can play the American Star Spangled Banner, Pledge of Allegiance. You can play that all you want, but black folks know who they're talking about. That's not for us. That peace and safety nonsense, it was never for us. Freedom. Freedom for what? To free you from your resources. That's freedom. Now the rest of the world and the rest of the nations are now seeing what we've been saying. We told you. And I'm not going to be on here to say, oh, I'm on my soapbox saying, hey, we told you so. But the Most High's word never, ever comes back void. And now these nations are realizing they have been pulled to the brink. They can't get away. Well, I think that the U.S. knows what they're doing. I think, the U.S. does know what they're doing. And these nations are about to get buried. And they're too stupid to realize it. No, they're not stupid anymore. Because now they actually had to realize, oh crap, we were actually in the crosshairs because they wanted to utilize Iran as that major pinpoint of action where the true target wasn't actually Iran. The true target was the rest of the world with Iran playing along inadvertently as a target of aggression. That target of aggression right now is creating the chaos that the U.S. wants. Oh boy, we've seen that before. Ha ha. That's why we just said we're going to sit here and enjoy this show and eat some popcorn because our ancestors have seen this before many a time. And we're going to see it in this generation, which we have. And they revealed themselves, which we knew that they were going to do. Man, we've been talking about Moloch and New Babylon and Dagon and Mammon. We've been saying all this. Now you have a nation that wants to say, "Oh, we knew this." Okay. But if you knew that, then why do you still try to harbor a little bit of lies? Because why? Because they know that they want to have a leg up, a semblance of control. But here's the funny thing that the Most High is going to do. He's actually going to beat the bricks off of bricks. Get it? Maybe pun was intended, maybe not. Or beat the brakes off of these nations. All these nations involved. Well, we thought that you were just kidding with that. We thought that we were just gonna, do this or do that, and you took it too far. We thought that nah. This place is fighting for its life. And we said it when we said that a while ago. It's fighting for its life, its very existence. Nobody here can threaten the United States, and nobody here is threatening the United States, because all we're doing here is just looking and seeing, literally seeing how this place is going down. Man, it went down quick. It's like an old school Little Caesars delivery. Guarantee. We'll guarantee you that if this place doesn't go down in 90 days or less, you get a free Caesars pizza. Pizza. Boy, oh boy, people's recalculus. People are their calculus is going to have to change, and it will. The other day, Brother Yacoba, I believe it was Friday, I was listening on in. We have to really understand the motivations of why we serve the Most High. Why we do what we do. You're starting to see their motivations. Everything that they've done for Mammon, everything that they've done for their greed, their self. I am the greatest. I am like the Most High. I am this and that, and they're showing even these crazy behind statues, effigies, paintings, images. To do what? To serve their image. I pray that you're realizing that the Most High is showing us them and their total depravity. Just saying. To me, I don't just getting back to the blockade. I mean, we could talk about the Islamabad talks, which to me, I already said, look, none of this was going to happen. Everything was in place and at play to be able to create a time buffer to get things moving. Hey, can we get our in? Hey, can we sail our ships around um, Hormuz and Strait, or the Bab al Mendeb and Cape of Good Hope? Can we get our forces into place? Because the only thing that it looks like to me is my my question is, where are they going to sail it to? Where are they going to sell those ships to? To Malaysia, to Australia, to Indonesia? They're going to sail them into Africa, to Kenya, Somalia, Djibouti. To me, I don't think so. The moment that they signal a Mayday, you got to also remember the Chinese are there in that area monitoring everything. When you had those destroyers that tried to go through the strait, the reason that they went through the strait, especially in daylight, they already knew that they were going to be interdicted. But you also have to understand and think as an analyst, why were they doing it at that time? Well, because they're trying to get, in my opinion, they're trying to get satellite imagery. Let's see how they reacted. Let's see what they did in terms of their actions with 30 minutes. Let's see what surface conditions changed, what got heated, what got quickly cooled, what had been shadowed, and what's not a shadow in known or suspected areas. They're trying to see where the missiles are coming out to then target and take action on the threat. This is what I believe. That's my opinion. And you all are certainly able to share your opinions. It was really to see an intelligence operation of how things start to maneuver. To me, all of these actions that they did for the Islamabad talks, that was just all to me high level strategic intelligence. How will they do things? What will they do? And you sprinkle on in trying to keep the oil markets down, because again, oh well, the talks are at risk and the talks are this. Look, I'm going to tell you, the declaration that was made for an embargo in about 2.5 hours. What do you think that is? That's no ceasefire. That's a direct military action. That's an act of war. That's a blockade. Well, I don't know if we've been in war. I think it's just no, it's another act of war. Now, this is an act of war globally because now it's a straight tactical Attack on global economic order. I don't care how else you want to state it. So they are the reserve currency of this global economic order, and they are then going to tear down their own system. Do you see how that works? But we had said it. They could say that they're winning all the day long. We're winning, we're winning. Remember, he said that last week. We're winning, we're winning, we're winning. No matter what, we win, we win. Yeah, they're going to win to the grave. That's pretty despicable. But we said it. And you're going to have people that say, oh, yeah, we won. Yep, you won. Now start cleaning up all this rubble. Start clearing all these minds. I think I said that on this channel that they were going to win no matter what, even when they were losing. Look, they'll still lose this war and they'll say that they won. Second after 15, they're going to be doing service to what? To the folks that conquered them. And the folks that conquered them will actually say this. This is how this game works. You realize that they enacted slavery with us through psychological manipulation. Oh, you know what? Hey, you 20 and odd Negroes at Point Comfort, help us to build this new world. And then you can take part in the spoils. You can eat the fruit of your labors. 20 years later, what ended up happening? Oh, we can't do that. You got too successful, and we had to enact these laws in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Hey, help us to clean up this world that you all had trashed, and when you help us clean it up, guess what? This will be bigger and better, and guess what's going to end up happening to these folks? Well, I thought that we were going to get some resources. I thought that we were going to get the ability to help us clean ourselves up because we cleaned up everyone else. What about us? Oh, but you want to know what? I'm sorry. We can't do that. Because, if you do happen to rebuild again, then you can be just as crazy or crazier. So, you know what? For the sake of the whole world, let's take it little by little by little. This place will never be rebuilt. All those dystopian movies like Hunger Games and everything else that you see. Yeah, it was talking about this place. It was talking about this age, this situation, this time. We could build you up, but everybody's scared that if you did get built up, then you'll return back to power, and then the whole world would be on its head again. And remember what we had just gone through, those 15, 20 years ago. Remember how bad everything was. Remember how the world was held hostage. Remember, give us time. Give us time to heal. Okay, all right, that sounds good. Okay. Hey, we're going to rebuild eventually, but it's going to take time. Hey, we're gonna be back on top, but it's gonna take time. Hey, America is gonna be great again, but it's gonna take time. We have to get in our international overseers because we still have elements of that former regime, and that could be dangerous. It could spell danger. Do you see what their captivity is going to look like? Peacekeeping operations. But hey, who am I? I'm just a crazy Negro. Last week I played the Trading Places video. And that was actually one of my most favorite videos back when in my childhood. And when Dan Aykroyd's character had awoken after he had been on a bender with some narcotics, after he had hit rock bottom, they brought him back to where he had lived before the manipulated actions took place to send him to a negative place. And he got up in his bed and he said, "Oh, it was just an awful dream. It was an awful dream. I had dreamt that a Negro had ruined my life." The reality is this. We have been telling them what's going on, what's coming, and they're getting mad and they're thinking, you know what? It's a Negro that ruined our lives. They were talking about the injustices. They were talking about the criminal natures and issues. They were talking about all these things that, again, if you were comfortable with crimes against humanity, then guess what you're going to do? You're going to eventually go to war against what? All the nations. Here we are. Don't wake up out of bed, see a Negro, and start to try to choke us out as we're trying to grasp for that breath of air. It was the Dukes. It was the Dukes. Get off of him, Winthorpe. Hey, man. We're just trying to tell you that all that nonsense and garbage of human rights and civil rights and everything else, that it was eventually going to catch up with you and affect your neck of the woods. And it did. Now the whole world is what? They're mourning. They're groaning. They're in trouble. What do you think that this blockade is going to do? It's going to make the rest of the world hate the United States even more. And they don't even know it. High IQ, huh? Well, I think Trump's got the plan. I believe in this plan. Do you understand that? I'm sorry, but this is a generation full of dummies. And it's not on our side, it's actually on theirs. And the rest of the world is looking at them in astonishment. Oh, you want to know what? Isn't that the curse is being reversed? Boy, oh boy, I believe it is. The curses are reversing in front of our face. Why do you think that they throw off the mistress? Why do you think that they throw off the the scarlet, the charlatan? Well, if we're gonna go down, you're gonna go down with me. That's the whole reality of this. This is why the blockade is here. Well, family, it's that time of the broadcast. If you like what we do, you can please support this channel. You can do so via Cash App or PayPal, Zelle. Cash App, $ COVAWK1 or PayPal or Zelle at kerosene@msn.com. I appreciate your support, family, especially, again, I don't know how much longer we have. I get emails all the time. Brother Karras, how much time do you think we have? Here's the thing. I don't know. Because my opinion is this, and this is my opinion. We're going to be wrapped up in so much crazy that it's going to look like the fall of the Soviet Union. And I don't know how many people really understood or appreciated that years ago. At that time, I was a boy. I was about 7 or 8 years old. And all I knew was there were things going on in Russia. There were things going on in the Soviet Union. And then literally the next thing I know, I'm looking at images of the wall being broken down. And you didn't know that what ended up happening, the reason the Soviet Union fell was because the money and the resources, it dried up. It literally dried up. The problem is that when this thing falls, it's not just going to take down the United States. It's actually going to take down, in my opinion, it's going to take down Europe. Europe will be falling very, very hard and very fast, as it is now. So this is why we are actively campaigning for this hospital project initiative, because at the end of the day, all the resources are on the continent, but the biggest resource is our connection with our brothers and sisters there. Remember, Africa started the process. They did. I don't care how else you want to shake it. I don't care how you want to remake it. Guess what? Ghana started it. Ghana put that in front of the nations. And now you're starting to see how these nations are running scared and they're running wild, because they know that they don't have much time left. The king has graciously, I'm going to tell you this, he graciously has allowed us to extend things. And let me tell you, that's some traditional council capital that he is putting on the line for us. We got to make this thing work. And I just pray that the Most High puts it on your heart to support this awesome initiative. Now, I'm not trying to be like Escape. I don't even know how that came into my mind. The back in the day, Escape. Who can you run to? Goodness. When America collapses, who can you run to? When Trump lost his mind. I'll see if AI can start getting these old tropes. Who can you run to? Where can you flee to? There you go. That's the cut right there. When this place is under judgment, where can you flee to? When your family calls, do 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 do. Where can you flee to? Oh, don't. When Babylon falls. There you go. That's the cut right there. Oh. But yes, family, that's the blessing that the Most High has given us, to be able to have this relationship with our family again, especially in these critical times. It's not going to get any safer. It's not going to get any better. So that's why I put this on out there. So you pray about it. You pray about it. They're telling you, look, you know, when a place gets ready to fall, when they tell you every principality that this place worships, you already know you don't have much time when they actually tell you the principalities, the gods that this place worships. Remember what the Most High said? He said he was going to bring down their gods. Oh boy. Well, in order to bring down their gods, you have to first have their gods being exposed. And yeah, and Iran did that. Question is then how much longer? To me, I don't know. I really don't know. But we'll see, because this will be an interesting 24 hours, Most High willing. Now, I'll see you all next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Exactly, Brother Garth. More Lego videos coming. Exactly. So with that said, family, Most High willing, I'll see you all tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay sanctified under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. That's the only way we're getting up on out of here, for real. Hallelujah. So with that said, family, Most High willing, see you all tomorrow. With that, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom, peace and blessings, Yasharel.